This might help. All right, tell you what. Let's go here again. Why not? Yeah, it's a Monday win. So, John, hear you there once again. And morning, Will. So here's the rundown for the morning. Abe should be joining us here in just a little bit. We'll talk Atlanta United. We'll talk about the Amaro transaction, everything else that's going on. We'll talk maybe a little Leagues Cup. We do have a lot of Leagues Cup to get into from yesterday. We do have highlights and posts from all of the matches that went down. It was a very, very busy Sunday. And we'll go over standings as we're into we're completed with the second match day, getting you ready for match day number 3. So we'll go over what the deal is. And remember, you've got to win. You got to get a lot of points. You got to score a lot of goals. And then you go into the final 8, and then they go 8-4-2-1. So we'll get into Leagues Cup. We got a lot of Leagues Cup this morning. And like I said, Abe will be joining us here in just a little bit, unless he's at Falcons camp and I either forgot to remember or he forgot to tell me. And then we'll get into all of the other stuff that's going on this morning. We've got some stuff with the twos. Remember the twos this past weekend, MLS NEXT Pro. They went to Chattanooga, had a hard 1-0 loss to Chattanooga FC. We'll go over all the numbers. We do have some post-game from Jose Silva. And we also have from Jason and Maddie and Sophia. We do have a post-game dispatch as well. So that'll be part of hour number 2, or whenever we can shoehorn it in with everything else that's going on this morning. So that'll be a part of it as well. And I'm trying to think if there's anything. I do have an opening kickoff that we've got to get into, and news and things like that. So there's some transfers, there's some news, and a lot of Leagues Cup. And there were a couple of confederations that wrote a letter to someone whose base of operations is in Switzerland, and we've got to get into that. So when you have 3 confederations pen a letter and they are all locked into the same kind of a thought, they sent the note out publicly as a group. So we'll go over the group. It's not even a group text. It's a group letter. So we'll go over that coming up in a bit as well. Will, that is, I would imagine that's the plan. Will wants to know if Atlanta United's ever going to sign a striker. I would imagine that that's the plan, but, and we'll go over the names. That's a good thing. What we'll do is I write them all down. So latest stuff involving that one and that one. So, all right. So we'll go over the news with all of the individuals that might have passed through the Atlanta United rumor mill, and we'll get into that as well. We've also got the YNT to get into. The U19s played in the CONCACAF U20 title game. I have issues. If Bart were here, Bart is on a beach vacationing, we'd probably be doing a lot of reffing down here. So it'll be like me doing reffing down here with the YNT match and the U20s and what happened yesterday. We'll go over what happened with the U20s in the U19s in the U20 CONCACAF final. Mexico ended up getting the Duke 2-0. And I have questions, not of Gonzalo Segueras or of the lineup, but I got questions. So we'll get into that. So I'm glad I remembered to write that down. So it's Jeff Bezos. It is what's going on at FIFA, what's going on at CONCACAF, what's going on at Leagues Cup, what's going on with the twos. And that's your morning. So there's a lot to get into just to kind of give you a kind of breakdown of the week. Tomorrow it's going to be we're going to start catching up with college coaches here around the state. Tony Economopoulos from Mercer is going to join us at 9:30. Ollie Howarth is going to bat leadoff tomorrow. We're going to talk WAFCON. We're going to talk about Malawi, Temo Shawinga, all of that stuff. So tomorrow is going to be some combination of Ollie Howarth on WAFCON, Tony Economopoulos from Mercer, KCD, and Santiago Lopez from El Fadelito as our conversation continues with him about building an amateur club while you're running a business and having successes and multiple teams and multiple competitions and winning and all of that cycle. So we're going to have that tomorrow. Wednesday, it's going to be Dylan Butler, Kaylor Hodges, plus everything else that's going on. Thursday, remember, is a bit of a power hour because of the media match that is going to be at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Training Ground at 10 o'clock, atlutd.com/live. Mike, Jason, upstairs. I'll be downstairs haranguing and harassing people, and that will be what we do on Thursday. So it's going to be early, like 8:30 to 9:30. It's going to be a power hour. Then we're back to normal on Friday, getting you ready for the weekend. We're trying to figure out where Nino and Nico can fit into all of this, and that's the week as I know it. And I guess technically Abe is now opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com, because there are stories to start your day, and Black Pitch Coffee should do the same. Part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta, made with beans from Brazil, Guatemala, heavy-bodied. That's the home blend. Notes of walnut, semi-sweet chocolate, and a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Abe, however, was not hydrating in that manner. I believe you were straight hydrating, yes?
Yeah, I thought you were talking about heavy-bodied. I was worried you were describing your upcoming guest, me. But
no, me. That's me because I have the doctor's appointment tomorrow afternoon. And, all right, so how many times a year do you go to the doctor?
Ideally one.
Okay.
It tells me I'm healthy. If it's more than one, problems are abound.
Okay. So the reason I ask is because of being 708 years old, I go more than once. And it's like every 6 months and that kind of a thing. And then you have to go and you wander into the doctor's office. And when you have to get your prescriptions renewed, you got to sit there as well. And he sits there and he asks you questions. It's like, so you're doing this and this? And I'm like, yeah, okay. You re-sign it and then you leave. I will always maintain that my doctor's office has a percentage of the parking lot concessions because you go in and you know how it's like 30 minutes unless it's free. And then 30 to an hour is a certain price. It's over an hour,
right.
Doubles and triples and things like that. So I swear to God, every single time I go, regardless of how much I have to get done, it's always ending up like an hour 4. It's like right over an hour, and you're sitting in the office you're sitting in that room by yourself most of the time, but he'll always kind of sit there and see it. And oh no, you got to get blood work done. You got to go down the hall. And by the time you're done, it's just over an hour.
You got to get them to check you out digitally. You're like, yeah, send me the receipt. I'll pay it later. Just let me go.
Nah, that doesn't happen. Does not happen. Absolutely does not happen. And so I didn't know if I was in that same boat. Like when you go to that one time a year to your doctor, are you parking in a pay lot?
Luckily, I'm in an open lot, so it's not really a concern. But normally it's before work, so there is like a little bit of a time crunch. Like, all right, like, come on, cut the nonsense. Every question, to your point, every question you ask me, just go back to 6 months ago or a year ago. Same answer. Do you drink a little bit? How often? The same amount? Are you eating? Blah, blah, everything. It's smoke, no drink yet. Like, it's all the same. Like, move it along. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm not that fortunate. I have to check out manually, check into the parking deck, all those things. I just wanted to put it out there this morning. I didn't know if I was on an island when it came to checking into doctors' offices and things like that. Like I said, I was, yeah, I am a separate animal. Between the time that you were here last and the time that you're here now, we've had signings. We've had Chris Henderson. He's kind of keeping an eye on things, and Jason found a think tank that does analyses on South American position players, and Chris Henderson has, through this think tank, signed the #1 under-21 South American defender. And so he was looking at 1, he was looking at 2, and he was looking at 9. And number 2 was like, team was in his Boca Juniors, 10 million, we're thinking 10 million for this kid. Then you go and get the #1. Yeah, he was 3. So Chris Henderson gets someone to help you out at the back, and he's a U22.
Yeah, Mauricio Amaro, and we're looking at what seems to be the discussion is this the guy to be the first true legitimate game-defining number 6 since Darlington Nagbe? And I think that's the question that we're all waiting to see answered. Like we have sat here and been told #1 this, #1 that out of South America. Sometimes it's worked out, other times it has not worked out, and so I'm not going to get too caught up in that. But it is exciting that they're addressing a need. It's exciting that you're not having to fill a DP spot to do so. So I think the mechanics of it in terms of MLS roster rules and all that stuff, you're certainly in favor of. So I do like from that aspect, and we'll see if he's able to do what's necessary and what we're all hoping he becomes to help this team, because almost every fan unanimously is essentially saying since Nagbe, we haven't had someone to truly be a 6. I know Bartosz Lich kind of was in that role, but was he enough of a game controller to be that guy? Maybe not. Last time you and I talked, we talked about this team needing to take a couple more shots from the outside. That was also something I read about Amaro, is that he's not scared to unleash one from outside the box. In fact, pretty proficient in that. So I think all of that comes together. It is a little bit exciting in what's been a frustrating down year. It is a little bit exciting that maybe we get some new blood in here, some young blood in here as well that can grow for a number of seasons with this team and help define the next couple of years.
And you look at his numbers, he's not afraid to stick in a tackle, which we like. He's not afraid to chase after anything, and apparently he's got some thumb bitch in him. That's the official Southern term. So he's going to stick into tackles. He's not afraid to go and get after the ball, and he's going to help you defend. And that little bit of sandpaper that we like to see, that's also a part of that, is an intangible for you.
Yeah, and look, I think he's going to fit in with the mindsets of some of the younger guys, right, that are going to be directly above him or behind him, outside of him, whatever. But I really want to see him paired with Cooper Sanchez and see what those two could do together. I'd like to see Jay Fortune get healthy in return, and maybe that allows him to be a little bit more offensive. Jay, I'm talking about. And then if Jay can be more offensive, what does that do for Moranchuk and the rest of the attack? And ideally, as some of your members of chat here are suggesting, a striker to be named later that we still presume at some point they're going to add. And so, again, you just start to build these pieces from the back forward. And do you have what you need along the back line and on the outside? I think we all are big fans of Tommy Jacob and what he can do. And then you start to say, all right, if Amaro slots in and is proficient, what about Jay? What about Cooper? What about the guys ahead of him? You could just start to see where a number 6 who controls the game, controls the midfield, communicates defensively, but also can help the attack, what he can do for all the guys above him as well. That's what I look at as to be exciting, is if you can get Jay to stay healthy for a run of time. I just think he's such a dynamic piece moving forward that it can only add to an attack that needs to be added to.
Yeah, and you look at how you're building. You build from the back and you build down the spine. And so you look at the back and you're looking at and go ahead and interject if I forget somebody. Baez, Jacob, Mihai, Dominic Chankui coming up through the system. Matt Edwards is a homegrown. Stian Gregerson available to you. Your 6s, you mentioned Cooper, your midfield in the 4-2-3-1. You've got, with the 2s, you've got Adrian Gill. You've got Matthew Hardinas coming up through the system. You end up with Amaro. You have Cooper and a healthy Jay and a Will Riley and, Tristan Muyumba. And you're seeing everything kind of building and pushing forward to that one spot that you're looking for. That is the pricier one of that entire group of the starting 11, where you can build budgetarily if you're going after younger players like you did with Amara with, I think, 3 and then escalators. but knowing that you're going to have to spend 8 figures to the left of the decimal place if you're going to chase after that striker that you want.
Yeah, and the frustration here is that you haven't done anything yet. I know there was the rumors that have seemingly gone by the wayside. But more frustrating for me, John, is you have a guy down on the farm, to use a baseball term, in your system that is an outstanding goal scorer. And I'm just ready to see Kovac be given a chance in MLS. Obviously, done what he's done with the twos, and it's been outstanding. And it's kind of like, hey, we don't know how to score goals. We got a guy down here that seems to be understanding of how to score goals.
Yeah.
And I know it's not the high price. I know it's not the name. And look, maybe he fails, right? And that's fine too. He doesn't have to come in and immediately be Joseph Martinez, but I'd like to see it given a chance, at least in the short term while you're awaiting signing. Because obviously just sticking with, again, no offense to Fafa Pico, you're just not doing anything there. So I want to see Kovac given a chance, call him up and plug him in and see what happens. And again, if you go 5-6 games, it doesn't work and you sign someone by then and you can switch it out. But I just don't see the point, especially with where this season is. And some years takes me a little longer to get there than others, but like, the blanket play the kids mentality. I'm not there like just completely all over the field, but up top, because it's such a poor performance in general, I'm kind of into like blanket, just play the kids. So that's what I would like to see, at least until a transfer is made and they bring in someone that you have to throw out there.
Well, and there's also someone that I would like to have as a part of the equation, and it's Cayman Togashi.
Totally agree. Yeah.
And you get, and Cayman hasn't had minutes. And I think that with his speed and with his intelligence up top, it once again causes issues at the back. And the one thing that you've got to navigate with Arif Kovac is, okay, how many more short-term agreements does he have left this season? And how many more games can he play? And so you've got to navigate that as well and figure out, okay, then do you end up signing him to another kind of a contract? Does he get a different contract? So the short-term agreement issue, which is another conversation entirely, which drives me blank and crazy. It should not be the way that it currently is structured, frankly. But you've got to keep an eye on your short-term agreements with all the folks that you bring up from the twos all season long, and you've got to navigate that so you don't burn it so quickly.
Yeah, and Cayman's a guy I've talked with Maddie about at times during the full-time report, some of the post-game of some recent losses, where it just every time he's in there, it feels like he's involved. It feels like he's dangerous. He's been involved in goals, if not the scorer, certainly the setup man. And we've kind of seen that be a trend over the course of his career, whether it's in U.S. Open Cup play or it was in Leagues Cup. It just feels like when he's given some time to run, he is in the middle of something. The one thing we haven't really seen, though, John, is being given some time to run at the start of the game and throughout the game. It just feels like he's always on in 70-plus minutes and go from there. And so, I agree with you. I'd like to see Cayman definitely given a shot. We called for it. I specifically, I think Maddie agreed, maybe not. I don't want to put words in her mouth, so I'll just stick with I called for it. I would rather have seen Cayman as opposed to Fafa Pico. That's not ultimately what we got last match, but I was ready for that switch, and you're absolutely right. He's another one that it's just like, let's see him, man. Like he always feels like he's involved more than the guys that he's replacing. So maybe that's a synopsis of a syndrome of being in for 20 minutes at the end and legs are tired and you just are all over the place. Or maybe it's just the guy who's more involved. And so I'd like to find out from the start, from the opening whistle at some point.
Yeah, Kovac right now is under contract with the twos exclusively, and so he falls under the STAs. And so you got to navigate that, or you have to adjust his contract.
Which, if you're going to use him, play him. Like, that's the other thing. Like, if you had opportunities to put him in, like if you're going to use the short-term agreement, and he's not the only one, like be prepared to put him in. If you're just there for like some sort of wild miracle, you lose 4 midfielders during the game and, oh, look, we have to play Majub or whoever it is, like call someone else up. Like if you don't have an intention of using these guys, don't waste the agreement. And so that's been frustrating as well.
Well, for me, the STA, the way that it is currently structured, for those that may not know, a club may sign a player age 25 or younger during the season from their affiliate to a maximum of 4 short-term agreements, up to four-day contracts each season, a maximum of 16 days. And that's why you saw some of the players go on the 2-game roadie the other week, because that counted as one
contract,
right? One contract window. So that was 2 matches in 4 days. That helped. That was just one window. Individual player may be included on up to 4 MLS League season match rosters each season. However, that player may appear in no more than 2 MLS League season matches. An individual player may appear in any number of non-league games during the terms of his 4 STAs. This bugs the hell out of me.
So why even have 4? You get 2. You get 2 appearances. That should be the rule. If that's what the limitations are, don't even have 4 short-term agreements. You can get called up however many times you want. You get 2 appearances. End of story.
Well, and for me, I would adjust it further and make it more like what you see in Major League Baseball or in the NBA. If you call them up for a week, you call them up for a week. And
right.
So what? However many times you get to do that in the NBA with the Atlanta Hawks, or how many times you get to, how many options you have for players with Major League Baseball. It's counterintuitive to the growth of your younger players to just sit there and say, well, you know what? We can call you up, but you got to sit half the time. That to me is so counterintuitive to helping a roster that needs depth for whatever reason, and then B, helping the growth of that player, telling them, yeah, you can come up, you can come and hang out basically, and I know that part of that is learning what it's like to be on the bus and on the hotel and all these kinds of things, but it's counterintuitive to me to have an STA where, yeah, you can come up, but you only can be active in half of these. Make it where it's like you call them up, and you have X number of options. Doesn't matter to me. I think the STA to me is a flawed premise right now.
Well, and the other problem I have, and I know this is working downwards, not upwards, but and I know they're young and they probably don't need a ton of sleep, whatever. But you go on a road trip, you get back at 4 a.m. and now you got to play an 11 a.m. match for the twos because you didn't appear for the the MLS squad, and they're just like, yeah, man, I know you're on 2 hours of sleep and the legs are probably compressed coming off of a plane, but you got to go do what you got to do. So get on out there. And again, in our old age, John, trying to run after getting off of a plane or run after 3 hours of sleep, you can tell the difference. For them, maybe it's a little bit overstated just because of youth, but it's also wild that hey, I know we called you up and you were on 2 back-to-back roadies with us, but you didn't play. So now you have to wake up after 4 hours and just go play a competitive match at the lower level. So that's a tough look at times too.
Yep. And right now, Atlanta United, there's been the discussions of strikers. There have been conversations. Brel Mbolo, I think Romelu Lukaku's agent, basically. I don't think Romelu Lukaku wanted to come to this continent. I think he wanted to stay on that side of the Atlantic. And so you get agents and, conversating, and yeah, it's going to be like 10 to 12 million. And he ends up with Turkey, who is spending stupid money right now. So I think that this is another part of the process I think folks have to understand, is that when you're chasing after talent on different continents, you're going to have agents who are going to sit there and play folks off of one another. And so, it's just part of the art of the deal that you're going to be mentioned. You pursue it as best you can. But at the same time, that agent is looking out for the player and the player's real interest. And I think in Lukaku's case, it's like, no, I don't want to go over there. I want to stay here in Europe. And you find big money over in Turkey.
Yeah. Again, not too many people were in. It didn't feel like locally on Lukaku anyways. And so it sounds like he kind of did them a favor, because it'd be tough for the organization to bring in someone the fans don't want. Right. I mean, the only way that works is then if the dude's legit, and not that Lukaku, but you got to really produce if the fans already don't want you. So, it feels to me like when you add a guy like Mauricio Amaro, the fan base is behind that addition, excited to see him, kind of waiting for him to, obviously go through the visa process and all that, but wants to get him here and wants to get him on the field. The worst thing you could do is add a guy the fan base is, or build it up, and obviously the Atlanta United social media team's doing their bit and never stop and all that, and then for it to fall flat before even playing a game. So, I do think you have to consider that, and I do think you have to try and find someone that this fan base is going to be excited about, but also will produce on the field, because the excitement dies down if you get on the field and it doesn't work. So, I'm kind of sitting like everyone else here, John, just waiting to see who they add and what the addition's going to be, because it's obviously very needed.
Yep, Embolo, Morata, names that have been put out in play. And Chris Henderson was watching the U20 championship as well. So keep an eye on that. So are you going to Falcons camp this week?
I am. I'm heading there literally as soon as I wrap this up for today, and then we'll be out there tomorrow again. And then it's an afternoon practice today, so I don't have to get there quite as early. And then preseason for them starts Friday, but obviously yours truly going to be in action on Thursday, so looking forward to it.
Yeah, we'll be out there Thursday and then recover Friday and then back at it on Saturday. And then it's back up and running with schedule compression. So get in shape for Thursday, my friend. I will see you with a microphone and an earpiece for the media match. And be well and get me my Tua updates, will you please?
Yeah, will do. You bet.
There he goes, Abe Gordon, 92.9 The Game. And batting leadoff on Mondays and discussing things. Now Abe is going to head up to the branch and find out what's going on with the quarterback situation and the Atlanta Falcons. So it's always great to bat lead off with Abe and find out what's going on. Okay, let's go over, since we are in this aisle of the store, we'll find out what the latest is on the 280-character app and find out what the latest is up top. And if we have some up topness that is going on. All right, so let's see. So, all right, let's check the latest on Embolo and see if anything happened over the weekend. And let's see. Napoli, as of 3 days ago. Okay, so 2 hours ago, it appears, according to Marseille, Rennes is preparing a 20 million euro sale. Bought for 15 million euro a year ago. Embolo could bring a nice capital gain to the Bretons. AC Milan is in the mix. So it looks like the price tag for Breel Embolo has basically doubled in the week, and it looks like Rennes might be at the front of the line for that particular movement. So let's see. There. Serie A's radar, Napoli and AC Milan monitoring the Swiss striker. Rennes ready to sell for around 20. So anybody who's coming to the table at 20, it looks like AC Milan might be part of that discussion with Embolo. So AC Milan and Napoli monitoring over the weekend, and Stade Rennais is willing to let go for around 20 million euros. So keep an eye out on Breel Embolo. And then the other name that was currently mentioned was Morata, and we'll see what the latest is with him. So let's see. Okay, so let me see what we have here with Fabrizio Romano. So Ferran Torres to PSG. Personal terms also with Lassine Magnon-Pave, who's a U16 talent. Negotiations with Montpellier. PSG closing in on a verbal for Ferran Torres. PSG sent an official bid worth 50 million euro to Barcelona. Talks at the final stages. The French side see Ferran Torres as an opportunity at that fee, having 1 year left on a contract. Otherwise expected to cost 70 to 80 million euro. Pierre-Emile Højbjerg's moved to Newcastle, is currently off following news talks in recent hours. They were prepared to pay what Marseille wanted. Højbjerg has decided to turn down the proposal. And Atletico de Madrid has shown images of Julian Alvarez in the weight room. So he is back to work. Toulouse rejected a 33 million euro package proposal for Diane Metali from Sunderland. Would have been the highest sale in club history. Toulouse decided to turn down the proposal. And let's see, there is Højbjerg. Cucurella has arrived for Real Madrid, as has Ibrahima Konate. Medicals underway for Hero Rulli at Manchester City. Liverpool given the final green light to Bradley Barcola on personal terms. Negotiations with PSG over the fee continue as clubs are in direct conversation. Up to Liverpool as the PSG valuation remains high. Swap deal this morning agreed between Everton and Crystal Palace. Dwight McNeil to Palace. Brennan Johnson to Everton. Everything done. The medicals today are starting for both. Ayub Buwadi and his camp now reached agreement on personal terms with Manchester City. Expected to seal the deal with Lille as the next step, already in advance, as Buati's preference would be to join City now rather than in 27. There's the Ferran Torres deal. There's the Ronald Araujo deal. Everything's signed. He'll be a new defender. Teden Mengi has been given the green light by Luton to hold talks with interested clubs. 1 year remaining on his deal. 24-year-old center back situation after a bid from Torino was rejected. Divan Mubama has been signed by Southampton from Man City on loan. Green light for Man City. Internal discussions taking place. Isiaka Kamate on the verge of joining Espanyol on a €3 million deal from Inter. Agreement includes a 50% sell-on clause. Roger Ibanez agreed to a new deal at ATLUTD until June of 2030. Only wanted to stay at the club. And PSG and Zion Suzuki. We'll get into all of these others, but where was the silly? All right, so literally River Plate. Okay, so they're saying that Alvaro Morata is at River Plate as a here we go. So checking, and I'm checking once again just to see what the latest is at River Plate, because some are saying, and Thiago Almada, speaking of River Plate, he's already in Argentina, joining today. Arrived in the country at 4:30 this morning, joining River Plate's training sessions during the afternoon. Already in Argentina to begin his stage with the Millonario, make himself available to the coaching staff. A lot of excitement with Rivers fans. Almada working with the squad while awaiting his debut. So Thiago Almada is with River Plate, and I literally cannot see anything else. It's like there's one link of Morata to River Plate, but nothing to confirm it. We do know about we do know about Thiago Almada. He's holding his bag at the airport. He's in Argentina, heading to the bus, the Sprinter van. So, all right. So there's one report out there that has Morata heading to River. No other independent confirmation that I can find. So that was the other name that was attached. So we'll see. We'll see what it looks like. But it looks like Morata might be heading to River Plate right now, and we'll see what happens there. All right. So that was, and this is like Morata, Como, Mundo Deportivo. This is old stuff with Morata. And so we'll see what it looks like. It's like I see one thing. I see, the same stuff that we've been discussing with Morata, and then Atlanta United and Morata again is come back and circled around. So Mundo Deportivo, hang on just a second. So it's like I said, since we're here in the Morata part of the program, we'll get into the U22, we'll get into the U20, and we'll get into Leagues Cup and all of that stuff coming up here in just a sec. So Rodri closer to Barca, Ferran Torres, 40 million, Rooney Bargi, Thiago Pitarch. So, okay. So, and I'm going back this morning. I'm going back a couple hours. Mundo Deportivo has a couple of different storylines going on right now. So keep an eye on it. Like I said, one had the here we go attached to a trip to River. Others have not. So keep an eye out on Morata, and we'll see where it goes from there. Morning, David. All right. So that is your Atlanta United update as far as I could tell. And that was opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Starting your day with the most important stories in the game. Right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend made with beans from Brazil, Guatemala. Heavy body, notes of walnut, semi-sweet chocolate, and a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff, powered by Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Yesterday, and it was last night, and it kind of took a little while for folks to find it at points. The U.S. U19s were in the final for the CONCACAF U20 championship, and it was going up against Mexico in the U20 men's championship final at the Estadio Azteca. Announced crowd, and it was a big crowd. It was very cool to see the crowd the size that it was. I think they had announced it just over 36,000 at the Estadio Azteca yesterday. And it was a 2-0 win for El Tri. The U.S. U19 succeeded in qualifying, obviously, because they made it to the finals. If you made it to the Final Four, you got into the 2027 FIFA U20 World Cup, the 2027 Pan Am Games in Lima, Peru, and you also got into the Olympics if you were in the Final Four. But since the U.S. is a host, they got in, so somebody else got to take their spot. So it was a rematch of the 24 final, and it was down to 2 moments. And one of them, really, I don't know what they were seeing. I really don't. It was a foul that created the red card on Chris Applewhite late in the first half. And I don't know, because you look at the replays, and they're out there. Applewhite made no contact with the player from Mexico at all. None. And for some reason, it was judged by Adonis Carrasco and his crew that Chris Applewhite made contact with Hugo Camberos. He didn't. There's a ground floor angle where Applewhite is sliding and Camberos is going up over the top, goes airborne, and he makes the decision to go airborne. No contact at all from the angles that I saw. Play was reviewed by VAR. You go to the monitor. It was initially a yellow, sure. Then rescinded and went up to a red. Review determined Applewhite was dog-so. First off, he made no contact with him. TV had no better angle at the time. And if there was an angle that we didn't see, we were not privy to it. So Chris Applewhite goes from yellow to red. And so for the remainder of the first half and the second half, the U.S. had to play with 10. And this is after a moment in the 28th where Carlos Hernandez finds Cristobal Alfaro, and Alfaro scores. But you wonder if the ball in its entirety crossed over the goal line. Once again, the angles that were given didn't improve the situation. It didn't look like the ball crossed over the goal line itself. No other angle was given publicly on the broadcast. Didn't look like it went over, and I don't know if they were using the chip ball in the Trianda or not. So you had a questionable goal scored and an even further questionable red card given to Chris Applewhite. You're down 1-0, and obviously you're chasing in the second half. And after kind of settling into the second half a little bit, the U.S. was more successful, I want to say, on the field than El Tri was. But then you had a kick come in from the right-hand side, and it goes through the gloves of Kane Rizvanovic, and it was 20 to go off a corner. Service in, Rizvanovic, it goes through his hands. Ball bounces to Alfaro inside the 6, and he just kind of plinkos its way into the net to make it 2. And then, U.S. is still chasing at that point. But it's a 2-0 win for El Tri. And they are the 2026 U20 men's champs. 3 goals through 6 matches allowed. USA's 11th appearance in the final, 5th in a row, and they've won 3 of 5. So the U.S. has now finished second in 2 straight U20 tournaments. 2024 goes to Mexico, streak of 3 titles, 2017, 18, and 22. And so once again, Mexico gets the other berth for Los Angeles. So Mexico and the United States are going to L.A. in 28. But 2 questionable moments in front of 36,000 at the Estadio Azteca. And like I said, the second one's more questionable to me than the first because, once again, angles we didn't get to see. Didn't get to see any other angles, and if they existed, cool. We didn't get to see him. That was the first goal on the board. Second goal, I mean, the red card on Applewhite, I have no idea. Really have no idea. Like I said, there's an angle out there that's a ground level shot. You see Applewhite sliding in from the right-hand side of the screen. And Camberes is going over the top. Applewhite doesn't touch him. From the angle that I saw, Applewhite doesn't touch him. And it goes yellow, dog so red. So you got me. That's all I'm going to say. You got me. Goals in each half. Alfaro got his brace, 28th and 69th. Your starting lineup had both Braden Dunham and Cooper Sanchez in it. Sign Braden Dunham. Sign him right now. Get him back here. Get Braden Dunham as a part of this. Rizvanovic, Javon Mussenden, subbed out with 11 to go by Alex Shaw. Applewhite, Dunham, Josh Torquato, Tristan Brown came in, and there were some words said close to the end of the match. First off, you give 2 minutes added. After everything that was going on in the second half, you give 2 minutes added, which was insane to me. And then half of that 2 minutes was a disagreement and a discussion in front of the benches. And Tristan Brown, it appeared he looked like someone had said something to him that should not have been said. And you had people trying to separate Tristan Brown from the mix, and everybody trying to separate. And the officiating crew decided you were going to go to 156. You weren't even going to go to 2. And half of it was the disagreement on the benches. First off, 2 minutes, I have no idea. Second, half of that time was wasted in a disagreement on the benches. Santi Oyarzabal was subbed by Brandon Days, Colin Gusky, Cooper Sanchez, Jaden Contreras, Din Kilpija, and Ruben Ramos. Ruben Ramos had a heck of a tournament. Laudmel, McPartland, Morales, Dylan Vanny, Colton Swan were not used for head coach Gonzalo Segueras. 22-6 in shots for Mexico, 5 shots on target, none for the U.S. 2 saves for Rizvanovic, 10 corners, 7 to Mexico. 34 fouls called, 21 of them to the United States. 3 offsides called by Adonis Carrasco and his crew. I mean, Abby, I'm not going to use that word. Abby was wondering if it was fixed. I'm going to phrase it this way. I'm going to phrase it like this. And I also have one other element in this that needs to be discussed, having to do with this tournament on the whole. I'm not going to use that word, but I think that there were times where, and you get the idea of federations in their moments. You know, when you're in a tournament and you're closer and closer to a title, like we saw in the World Cup, you don't want fouls really to be called, but it goes counter to what we saw in this match where you had 34 fouls called and 21 of them against the United States. 34 fouls called in a final. 34 in a final for the United States. 21 against the United States. And the last CONCACAF final that Adonis Carrasco refereed, I want to say, was 3 years ago. He had called I think he had called Leagues Cup, and he was going back and forth with that. But, yeah, 21 fouls called on the U.S., 34 total. And he was all over the place when it came to any kind of consistency whatsoever. So, I mean, you tip your hat to the kids, and that's what they are. They're U19s. And I have issues with the production crew because of after Rizvanovic lets the second goal in, there is a replay of the goal, and Rizvanovic knows he should have had it because he or at least he feels he should have, because you see him as the goal gets scored and he looks at his gloves and he's just, he's down on himself. And the production crew decided that they wanted to do, they'd play the moment from behind the goal, ball goes in, and then they do this slow-mo hold, basically it was a slow-mo freeze on Rizvanovic, kind of staring at his gloves and then staring into the camera. So you want to do that to a 19-year-old kid. Good on you. Yeah, you want to do that to a 19-year-old kid. So that kind of bugged me when it came to the production crew of shot selection, shall we say. So that was less than cool on my part for them to do that. And yeah, so that's the tournament in and of itself. So U.S. qualifies for Pan Am. U.S. qualifies for the U20 World Cup, which I think is in Uzbekistan, and another one of the stands in about a year, a little over a year from now. And you're also in LA28 as your host country. So it was a great showing by the tournament for the U.S. And the one point that I wanted to bring up about the U22s, and it has to do with the roster itself. So, and this is, I know obviously this is a bit of hindsight that's attached to it, but the Chicago Fire decided that once the United States qualified for everything that they could have qualified for with a performance in this tournament, that Christopher Cupps was going to be recalled to go back to be a part of Chicago Fire on the first team roster for Leagues Cup. So Christopher Cupps getting regular reps, is a key part of the U19s toward the back. He gets recalled after qualification's official, after you get into the Final Four. Chicago Fire make the call, hey, we want him back. So Christopher Cupps leaves Mexico, goes back to Chicago. Has Christopher Cupps played a minute since he has been back in Chicago? I'll double check, but I think the answer is no. I'll double check it, but I think the answer is no. And number 38 was on the bench yesterday in the 3-1 win over Santos Laguna. But I do not believe he was active in that match. Just saying. And with Chris Applewhite getting the dog so red, which is still beyond me, Christopher Cupps could have helped you out defensively had he been allowed to stay and not sit on a bench somewhere, specifically Bridgeview. And you would think that the individual who is in charge of Chicago Fire on the field would remember the importance of having a full roster. You would think that Greg Berhalter would understand the importance of having a Christopher Cupps who is as vital as he was to that U19 roster. You would think that he would understand Christopher Cupps or want him to stay to get the most out of that experience in a U20 championship. But no. He's called back, and he sits on a bench instead of being active specifically, and could have been called off the bench by Gonzalo Segueras had he not started yesterday once Chris Applewhite got the red card. But Gonzalo Segueras did not have that option because the player was recalled. And there's nothing that Gonzalo Segueras could do. Much like Cooper Sanchez going in, Gonzalo Segueras had to wait a little bit because Atlanta United needed Cooper Sanchez. And then when it was deemed okay, he was obviously sent. But this is worse. This is worse. Christopher Cupps, a part of that roster, quality minutes, helping out that defense, being what it was. And then once you get to the semifinals, your boss calls you back. I mean, there's not that, Christopher Cupps can say anything about it. But your boss calls you back to the first team so you can sit on a bench. Oh, but the practice time is valuable, especially with Robert Lewandowski there now. Valuable learning experience for him to understand, what Lewandowski can bring. Or whatever would be said in this situation. But you would think that Greg Berhalter would understand the value of a U20 championship with one of your key players who you want to have sit on a bench back up in Chicago. You would think that that would be something to keep an eye out for. Gonzalo Higueras, U.S. patient, waiting for Cooper Sanchez to show. Cooper Sanchez, Braden Dunham, quality minutes. Great work with the USMNT on the U19s. Christopher Cupps, same. Until he's called back when the team makes the semifinals. He goes back to Chicago to sit on a bench. And he could have helped out yesterday. He could have been a part of the process in general, but he could have helped out yesterday once Chris Applewhite got that red card. To help out defensively, you make a defensive sub and try to navigate at the half. You bring him in at the half. You just, at 45 plus whatever, Applewhite gets the red. Navigate, just get to the half. You bring Christopher Cupps in at the half to help you out defensively. But Gonzalo Higueras did not have that option because Christopher Cupps was called home after getting to the semifinals. So after the round of 8, after the quarters, he's called home. I don't think he's played a minute since he's been home. Just saying. Just saying. So that was the other thing that stuck with me yesterday. And the irony that it's Greg Berhalter is inescapable. So, but a great showing by the U19s in the U20 tournament, qualifying across the board, finishing runner-up to Mexico, and qualifying for Pan Am Games in Lima. Obviously, they're the hosts in 28 in LA, and they're also qualifying for the U20 World Cup in the stands about a year from now. A little over a year from now. I think it's September and October of 27. So that is, wow, that's hour number 1. Okay, so let's do a hydration break a little early. I know it's not quite 10 o'clock. So hydration break brought to us by our friends at local Vine Beer, Wine, and Liquor stores. And that is 2 locations, Johns Creek and Cobb, off of Cumberland Parkway and Cobb Parkway. Stores are huge. Be prepared to impulse buy when you wander in the door. Can't thank them enough for being great partners and sponsors with us starting here in 2026. And, yeah, you'll go in thinking one thing, and then you'll leave, and your basket will be full because you'll go, ooh, that, all the things. And so here's to our hydration break, once again brought to us by our friends at a local beer, wine, and liquor stores, local Vine Beer, Wine, and Liquor stores. Here from the Kaiser Permanente studios, it is SDH on a Reaction Monday. Hydrate. So there you go. Okay, hour number 2. Got a lot of Leagues Cup to get into, got the 2s to get into, and we'll get you ready for the day. The big news that came out while we were sleeping, 3 federations came up with a letter that was penned in unison, and it was specifically aimed at an individual whose office is in Lausanne, Switzerland. So when that news broke, here's how Haley McQueen, Sky Sports News, broke it to the rest of us, and she was surprised.
Right. Breaking news. UEFA, CONCACAF, AFC have issued an open letter to the football world saying FIFA President Gianni Infantino has broken trust through deception with the World Cup stake sale process. Now, look, it's a very long statement, clearly putting more pressure on Gianni Infantino to resign. We've picked out a couple of key segments here. The letter says, when trust is broken through deception, when an individual places himself above the collective that entrusted him with authority, that duty has been abandoned. And it says this about the World Cup stake proposal. What football witnessed was a failure of judgment, a proposal advanced on a compressed timeline without meaningful consultation and pushed towards a deadline before member associations could properly review its terms is not the product of an oversight. It is the product of a design intended to limit scrutiny. It did not acknowledge that the proposal itself was inherently wrong. There remains no recognition that attempting to sell an interest in the FIFA World Cup was a profound failure of judgment, not just a procedural misstep, but a fundamental breach of trust with the very institutions FIFA exists to serve. And the letter ends with, "It is not the conduct of a custodian of the game, but of one who believes the game is answerable to him."
Haley McQueen at Sky Sports News. So here's the letter. Open letter to the football family as of 4:49 this morning. So even before we were up. Some of you might have been up, but this came out this morning, a little before 5 o'clock. Signed by the AFC president, Salman bin Ibrahim Al Khalifa, General Secretary Datuk Seri Windsor John, CONCACAF President Victor Montaliani, and General Secretary Philippe Moggio, UEFA President Alexander Sefrin, and General Secretary Theodore Theodoridis. So Haley kind of went through a lot of it. Growth over the past decade has been real, but that progress was never the work of one individual, the product of FIFA, the confederations, member associations, and the thousands of people who dedicate their lives to the game. Expanded tournaments, awarding of the 30 and 34 World Cups, distribution of resources to associations, shared achievements, agreed together, delivered together. This is not about money. I'm just going to read this. This is not about money. The confederations have already called for the responsible distribution of FIFA's vast existing reserves to further strengthen investment in the development of member associations. Nor is it about any member association losing the support it has earned despite the fear-mongering directed at our membership to suggest otherwise. Nor is it about revisiting the expansion of competitions, World Cup allocations, or any other decisions reached collectively. Those decisions made together, and they must stand. This is about something more fundamental, the integrity of the game and the integrity of those elected to lead it. Leadership in football is not a possession, not about holding or demanding power to be held. It's a duty of service to the football family that entrusts it. When trust is broken through deception, when an individual places himself above the collective that entrusted him with authority, that duty has been abandoned. FIFA's recent letter to its vice presidents and 211 member associations acknowledges that mistakes were made in the process. It treats this as a failure of communication when what football witnessed was a failure of judgment. Proposal advanced on a compressed timeline without meaningful consultation and pushed toward a deadline before member associations could properly review its terms is not the product of an oversight. It's the product of a design intended to limit scrutiny. Did not acknowledge the proposal itself was inherently wrong, as McQueen said. Remains no recognition that attempting to sell an interest in the FIFA World Cup was a profound failure of judgment, not just a procedural misstep, but a fundamental breach of trust with the very institutions FIFA exists to serve. FIFA is also committed to presenting a full report on these events to the FIFA Council, once again failing to recognize that proper governance in the face of such a profound lack of judgment would require such a review be conducted by a fully independent third party, not by FIFA itself, its staff, or by any stakeholder within football. FIFA administration should play no role in conducting the review. As for previous correspondence, all relevant documents and records must be preserved in accordance with UEFA's communication on the preservation of documents. FIFA's own letter also confirms that only one elected official was present at the leadership meeting in Morocco. No FIFA council members or member associations were invited to participate. Only the management committee composed of FIFA-employed senior staff was present. This recent meeting, where a select number of members of the FIFA management committee, not the full committee, were summoned abroad, rather than leadership going to Zurich to address the heart of FIFA, its staff only reinforces these concerns and represents a continuation of the very pattern of conduct that brought us to this moment. It is not the conduct of a custodian of the game, but one who believes the game is answerable to him. McQueen gave you a little bit more of that. These are not the qualities football deserves in its leadership. That's why we have taken this stance, not lightly and not alone, but together, and out of duty to the game that we serve. Football's strength has always been its unity. We call for that unity to be honored now for leadership that serves football, not seeks to command it. So that was posted to the CONCACAF website and other places having to do with the letter that came out this morning. And so when you go to the analysis of same, you're looking at a couple of different things in play. Ben Jacobs says more on the letter, and this is shortly after the letter was published. Understand the confederations want Gianni Infantino to resign and are giving him the chance to do so with dignity by not standing in March. All options remain on the table, including a boycott of FIFA competitions. The three confederations have begun preliminary discussions about the possibility of organizing competitions among themselves to ensure players have opportunities to compete while a resolution is found. Jacobs also understands that the European football clubs, the EFC, also support the joint UEFA CONCACAF AFC letter. No voting power at any FIFA election, but a powerful body to have on the side. Its chair, Nasser Al-Khalifi, will meet with Alexander Sefrin this week in Salzburg. Sefrin wants the EFC to remove the Club World Cup support. The 2029 edition currently has no location or funding model, and clubs are angry at the lack of settled solidarity payments from the 25 edition. So that is what we're seeing from Ben Jacobs in all of this and his viewing of what went down this morning. And we'll see if there are any other elements attached to it at the moment. The answer right now is no. So we'll keep an eye on that. But that was the big letter that came out this morning shortly before 6 a.m. And we'll see how everything proceeds from here. Let's check with our friends at The Athletic and see what the latest may be, if there's anything else that has been attached. Dan Sheldon from The Athletic this morning. Come on now, people. I'm trying to log in here. And so what does it do? It wants me to log in, but I don't want to log in because I should already be logged in. But when your desktop updates in the middle of the night, blows everything out, you got to start all over again. And so now the computer's thinking. Of course it's thinking. It's a Monday. I don't know why it takes Sunday nights to sit there and go, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do all of this. So we'll see. Let me see if there is anything else on the, as it's still thinking. Unbelievable, but not really. So Dan Sheldon over at The Athletic, once again referencing the failed FIFA Forward Enterprise Plan. Crisis meeting of select members of management in Morocco Wednesday. Infantino, who apologized with Matthias Grafström, FIFA Secretary General, for the FFE proposal, received full support from his senior leadership team. Sheldon references the letter, reminding everybody that UEFA doubling down on its threat that the boycotting of the future men's and women's World Cups at present. Source with knowledge of the Confederation's thinking, speaking on the condition of anonymity to protect relationships, has said that despite Infantino's public statements on apology, they've now embarked on early conversations around developing a new tournament. Following the meeting in Morocco, FIFA added a review will be conducted. However, UEFA, CONCACAF, and the AFC have made it clear they do trust that. And there's a word that is missing here. However, UEFA, CONCACAF, and the AFC have made it clear they do not trust FIFA. The word not is not in the article. They do not trust FIFA to oversee this review and have instead called for it to be carried out by an independent party. FIFA has been approached for comment. And although UEFA, CONCACAF, and the AFC have outlined their position on Infantino, their view is not shared throughout the game. Infantino has received support from individual member associations, including Argentina and Mexico. The FMF endorsement comes at the same time as their confederation has called for the 56-year-old to go. And in a statement, the African Football Confederation said it unanimously reconfirmed its support, end quote, that it was committed to continuing to work together with FIFA. And then back on Thursday, CONMEBOL spoke of its, quote, concern about the repeated unilateral actions taken without resorting to dialogue or the institutional mechanisms, end quote, in a statement, and called for unity of the football family before FIFA's presidential elections, which are set to take place in March. You have until mid-November to declare your desire for presidency. So that is the latest when it comes to, I don't want to do that. No, log me out. It's like, here, start your free trial. I'm already subscribed. People. But it's good to know that I can actually get the Athletic for $20 a year. 72 a year thereafter. Under no circumstance am I ever paying 72 million, but I'm not paying $72 for the Athletic. I'm not. But yeah, say, you want a free trial? No, I don't want a free trial. I already subscribe. It's not hard. me log out. There we go. That's what we were looking for. So goodbye. All right. So that's the kind of chaos that's attached. Yeah, I'm right there with you, Abby. Computer updates are always a blast. Okay. We'll get into all of the other news and everything that's fit to print. On the flip side of Leagues Cup, looks like Xavier Gozo is getting finalized to depart for Crystal Palace. And Palace is also finalizing a £21 million move for a player coming from Royal Union Saint-Gilloise. Wrexham closing in on signing the Sunderland keeper. Villa looks like they might be appointing Burnley's set-piece coach Fjelde to hang out with them under contract. But, yeah, we'll continue to kind of see what's going on with all of that. So we'll keep you posted. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo on the flip side toward the end of the show. And we'll let you know what's going on. I meant to mention, what was it, Reuters? I think it was. It looks like Jeff Bezos might be on the verge of getting his consortium to pitch into about 1/3 a stake of Liverpool. And so this comes from various places. Mark Kleinman, we'll go with him from Sky. Consortium, including Jeff Bezos, closing in on buying roughly a 1/3 stake in Liverpool. Sky News learned that Fenway Sports Group preparing to make an announcement about a transaction as soon as this week. The deal will see Bezos participate in an investor group alongside Eduardo Saverin, one of the co-founders of Facebook. Syndicate is led by Amit Bhatia, the son-in-law of steel billionaire Lakshmi Mittal, and until recently a shareholder in championship club Queen's Park Rangers. One source indicated an announcement was expected in coming days, although they cautioned it could slip into next week. If completed, the deal would also install, once again, a trio of the world's wealthiest individuals as co-owners of the Reds. Bezos' alone fortune, according to Forbes, around $280 billion. Mr. Saverin is worth to be over 32. Their investment in Liverpool will value the club at $6 billion U.S., making it one of the sport's richest ever deals. And the emergence of the plan, once again, proposing a sale of the stake of FIFA. We circled back to that in this article. Infantino and then Bezos has not previously been linked to deals in football. Prospective involvement in Liverpool's consortium underlines the extent to which the sport is now viewed by wealthy investors as an asset class in its own right. Saverin, who is 44, was part of a consortium which assembled an unsuccessful takeover bid for Chelsea during the 22 auction, triggered by the invasion of Ukraine and pulling Roman Abramovich from the ownership of that club. One insider said the deal is now expected to be slightly larger than previously thought, potentially involving a stake over 30%. I had seen a third. Valuation, if it hits $6 billion U.S., reinforces the huge financial success FSG has enjoyed during its 16 years as the club's owner. Acquired Liverpool for just £300 million with the club in a troubled state financially. Spokesperson for Fenway Sports Group said last month an investment consortium led, managed, and represented by Amit Bhatia has expressed interest in making a strategic minority investment in Liverpool Football Club, end quote. They declined to comment further on the potential timing of a deal. Spokesman for the consortium led by Mr. Bhatia also declined comment. Last time a stake in Liverpool changed hands was 2023 when Dynasty Equity bought a small interest valuing the club at more than $4.5 billion. Since taking over, FSG has largely been praised by Liverpool fans as steward of the club, although the last season fifth-place finish and the decision to replace Arne Slot in May caused disquiet among many. So Jeff Bezos looks like he and his consortium, Bezos, Bhatia, and Saverin, look like they might be picking up a third of Fenway Sports Group's interest in Liverpool to boost that valuation up to $6 billion U.S. Okay, let's get into Leagues Cup. Busy day yesterday on a bunch of different fronts for Leagues Cup, and it was the wrap of match day 2. Today is an off day for Leagues Cup as they all get ready for match day 3, and we'll go into the standings. But bottom line for the standings means that what you've got to do is you got to score, and you got to score a lot, and you got to win. So you pop-up windows. Good Lord. I hope you didn't hear that. So you end up with what happened. I'd like some dates. You go to one website, it just gives you results. It doesn't give you dates, but fine. Okay. So it starts off with an afternoon kick at Lumen Field. Seattle ranked 15th, and Querétaro ranked 31st. And Seattle wasted no time getting on the board in a match that they really, did I mention really? They really, really needed to win to get full points to try and chase after anything resembling getting into the postseason and Leagues Cup. Here's the call once again with our friends, Leagues Cup and Apple TV, and it's Blake Price and Dolly the goalie.
And Mano Martinez, 16-year-old in the middle of midfield, one to watch, number 30.
Musovski, Rusnak, Rothrock with the cross, back post, yes! Gomez tucks it home, and the 20-year-old earns the trust of Brian Schmetzer, and it is returned.
That is a dream start in his first professional starting appearance for the Sounders after the beautiful setup, a terrific switch of play. But how about the precision and the weight on that pass in behind the Querétaro defense from Paul Rothrock as he puts it perfectly on a plate for Sebastian Gomez to just stroke home beyond Hernandez. That is an excellent opening goal from Seattle. Well built from the back, good switch of play, and then the final ball inviting.
So 3-0 the final. Gomez in the 4th, Musovski in the 41st, Rusnak in the 68th. Big win for Seattle. Boy, did they need it. Boy, did they need that. Just to go back to our conversation that we had with Nico Moreno back on Thursday. You got to stop the schneid somehow. Here's Brian Schmetzer after the match.
What would you say the biggest difference from you guys was today?
Scoring early. I mean, kid, second fastest debut goal, only behind Paul Arriola. So we had a couple guys recently, but you know, scoring the goal first gave the team a little bit more confidence. And we talked about a lot of things, Jeremiah, going into the game, about a belief in winning. You know, we went through the coaching stuff, the details, you know, set pieces, front foot, you know, defend well, clean sheet, all that sort of stuff. But the focus was on them believing that they could win. And so that was the best way to start, if you want to back up a message like that, is to score an early goal by a young kid who's got a ton of energy, and Paul delivering two really excellent balls. Second one to Musovski, so good way to start the first half and end the first half.
Congratulations, Brian. I wanted to ask a little bit about Pedro, though. It seemed like the night or the day was going really well, and then that was maybe the only blemish on the afternoon.
Little bit of a dark cloud there. We'll again give you guys more information as we get it, but it's right now it's a left quad injury. We don't know the severity of it. It's not his reconstructed knee or anything like that, so it's a muscular injury. So we'll give you guys more information about that in the next couple of days.
And that's the other storyline coming out of the 3-0 win, is the injury to Pedro de la Vega. Came in basically for a cup of coffee late, and he lasted, I think, only about 10 minutes before he had to be removed. And it was, as you hear from Brian Schmetzer, a muscular injury, nothing to do with anything with the knee or anything like that, but they'll keep an eye on it getting ready for match day 3. Really quickly, just to keep an eye on things, keep your thoughts for everybody in Colombia. They had an earthquake this morning, and I turned it over to live television in Colombia, and it looks like it was a 7.4. So keep an eye on that. And Colombian television is live there, so we'll see how it continues to impact things. Philadelphia Necaxa at Subaru Park, and it was Team 5 going up against Team 22. And once again, it's those early starts that really help things out. In this match, once again, no different. Philadelphia Union get out to the early lead. Nathan Harriel gets the Union on the board. 3rd minute. And that's the kind of jump that you're looking for in games like this when you're trying to chase into a non-phase 1 appearance. Here once again, Apple TV and Leagues Cup. So Chris Winningham, Lori Lindsay, I believe.
Here now is Martinez. And losing out there is Rodriguez, who slipped at a bad moment, and Damiani looking to get Philly forward, Vasilev. And room on the right side now for Kevin Sullivan. We now have Harriel going beyond him. Kevin Sullivan guides it into his path. Harriel into the bottom corner! Striking 2 minutes for Philly! Well found by Kevin Sullivan on the overlap, and Nathan Harriel gets Philadelphia off to a flying start in this second match of Leagues Cup.
And just in the first few minutes, excellent pace of this game, back and forth, and Coxa with some possession higher up, and then immediately, this is the strength of the Philadelphia Union. Harriel has been playing more of a center back recently, but this is a preferred position, the right back, so he can get forward, join into the attack.
Leagues Cup there with the 3-0 win. Goal by Nathan Harriel in the third. Damiani 9 minutes later. Kevin Sullivan, second half in the 53rd. Espindola scores for Necaxa with 11 to go. Philadelphia pretty much in control the entire time. 3-1 your final. Here is Ryan Richter to break it all down after the match, courtesy of the Union, their own selves.
With the result in the previous match, were you pleased with how your squad responded, especially in that first half?
Yeah, it was really important for us to bounce back from a loss at home and make sure that doesn't turn into a streak. So it was great that the way they responded, the way we started the game, and ultimately to get the result was really important today.
And then, Kevin with another goal tonight, it just seems match after match coming off of the break, he keeps improving. What have you seen every game since he's started?
Yeah, he's been dangerous every game, and he's been in position where he's getting in goal-scoring positions and he's getting his opportunities, and he was unlucky in a few moments, but it was really important for him today to get that goal. And I think the thing that I was most proud of is the type of goal that it was. It wasn't the special one where you beat 3 players and you curl the ball in the top corner. It was get to the right spot at the right time and put the ball in the back of the net. And that's how he's he has the special goal in him, but that's how he's going to score goals. A lot of goals at this level, so I was happy to see him get in the right position and get the easy goal. And it was, in the end, it wasn't so easy, but a good first touch, and he takes a good finish with his second touch. But really happy for him, proud of him, and hopefully he takes confidence from it.
Ryan Richter after the match, big win for Philadelphia. Like I said, when we're done with the scores, we'll update you where things stand after match day 2. Off day today, everything picks back up tomorrow. CanChamp actually picks back up tomorrow as well. So we'll break down how things look here in Leagues Cup after we go through a 8-game day. It's fun to kind of go bouncing in and around all of these matches. We had an 8-match match day 2 to wrap things up on a Sunday in MLS NEXT Pro. So match number 3, as we roll through the schedule, it was Cruz Azul and NYC. And it was pretty even Steven between team number 4 and team 14, still NYC playing at their home away from home. And I don't mean the Bronx or Shea Stadium. They're still playing out in Harrison, New Jersey, and the field was starting to look it after all of the repeated cleats and steps on top of it. But it was a goal by Palavecino in the 35th, evened up by a goal at 45 plus 1. So 1-1 at the break. And then 12 minutes to go, Cruz Azul gets the game winner. Jess and Ian Joy on the call for this one, and you'll hear from Pascal Janssen after the match. He was less than happy about it. But here is the 2-1 eventual game winner. Once again, here's Jess and Ian Joy, Apple TV and Leagues Cup.
The directness and those runs behind, as well as his hold-up play.
Well, New York have an outlet now with Luigi up top there.
Campos turning is Rodriguez. Rodriguez, top of the box, as a strike is sizzled, deflected, goal! Jose Paradella takes a strike, deflects, and finds the back of the net. Cruz Azul back in front.
Well, he's been an absolute problem all game long. Paradella, give me the ball. Paradella finishing. This time it takes the slightest of deflections. It looks like Pereira who's closing him down. Then the ball actually comes off. But the problem's been Paradella pretty much all game long. This guy is a creator. This guy is a magic man with the ball at his feet, but he's also got true quality with his finish. Patient build-up again. Waiting for the advanced player, the extra player. Campos pushing forward. And they're waiting for that moment of...
Ian Joy goes for a bit, but you get the idea. 12 minutes to go. Paradela scores 2-1 your final. Cruz Azul over NYCFC. Here is a less than pleased Pascal Janssen after the match, courtesy of NYCFC.
As the first game we played against Santos, I really enjoyed this game. It was even more intense than game number one, playing against the Mexican champions. I think we were up for it. A very good team. You could see the challenges, the duels were very intense. But like always, when you play a top game, and that was this one tonight, games will be decided on details. That goes both ways, because the first goal is a situation where we look a little immature, losing the ball with Jimmy's dribble. The turnover's there. They punish you for this moment immediately. But we punish them also for a well-taken free kick, and that was also the quality from the delivery from Nico. And then you see the second half, we get a few details more in line, and I think the biggest moment that we created was the moment with Nico Macau just missing inside the goal mouth, which was a huge moment. But as what happened in the first half, it was a minor detail. We opened up the window in the middle once, and they accelerate again, and we were unlucky with the deflection with the goal that we conceded. But overall, very intense game. Good lesson for us also to see what happens when you play at top level, and that was this game tonight.
Thank you, Coach. We open the floor for questions. Please state your name and media outlet. First question.
Yeah, Michael Allen, Blue City Radio and Prost International. Yeah, Coach, tough result tonight. I just wondered if you could talk a little bit about how important it is for the team to play against these top quality opponents from other leagues, especially in an atmosphere like this tonight, which is very, not a home game, decidedly different from the last match. So just speak a little bit about that and the importance of that for the development of the team.
Well, that's going to be different once we go to our own stadium in Queens, filled with blue shirts. Now, this stadium was obviously filled with more Mexican supporters than our own. Felt like an away game as well. Like I said, it was intense, and big credits to the fans and the crowd as well, because they made it also a very intense game. As I mentioned, it's always great to play these games because you get so much more compared to maybe 20% of the games that you play in the MLS. And the one thing that I think we should be looking at is when you play these type of games at top level, then you should have neutral referees. And if I'm not mistaken, our referee was from Mexico today, and that makes it a little tougher. We all know that they try to be as objective as they can be, but I think going forward with this tournament, the impact that it makes with playing these games, it's something to think about.
Yeah, you kind of heard that a little bit, just a bit. So it was Jesus Lopez, the man in the middle for CONCACAF, and you heard Pascal Janssen. I mean, and it is a point to bring to the table. So I'm trying to find out where Jesus Lopez is based, and if he is a CONCACAF sanctioned official or if he is just a straight up Liga MX official. So Jesus Rafael Lopez Valle from the FMF Referees Commission. Okay, so he has surpassed 50 matches as a center ref, but yes, he is a part of Liga MX. Jesus Rafael Lopez Valle, central referee, FMF Referees Commission. So that, to the point that was made by Pascal Janssen, Jesus Lopez was the man in the middle. Stats on the day, just to continue to see what he meaning Janssen might have seen. It was 20 fouls. And once again, you're in a competition like this. You don't necessarily want to sit there and call a boatload of fouls. But you did end up with, and I think that this is the point that Pascal Janssen is making. Cruz Azul was called for more fouls in this match at 12-8. They only had one yellow card. 8 fouls were called on NYCFC, 5 of them were rendered yellow cards. That is an unheard of percentage for me. 62.5% of the yellow cards, the fouls were given yellow card status. That's crazy. 1 yellow on 12 fouls for Cruz Azul, 5 on 8 for NYCFC. That is nuts. Okay, and Abby's asking about the VAR crew. Let me check. Anthony Bravo and Yasith Monge. Hang on. Anthony Bravo, VAR. I think Anthony Bravo, I think, is... All right, so let's see. Anthony Bravo. It's like Anthony Bravo, and it goes right to IMDb. Anthony Bravo, soccer ref. Let's see. Recruiting profile. Anthony Taylor, which is not who we need. Anthony Bravo. So let me see. Anthony Bravo. Let's see if Anthony Bravo is a pro or if he is, if I could spell referee. Referee. Baseball, Governor State University. See, and this is the other part of this that has always been part of the concern for me, and we've been through it every morning, where I can't get the Leagues Cup officials, and it might be just me. So I will, let's see, Anthony Bravo, video assistant. And like I said, this is a problem that I've had this entire tournament, video assistant referee. So VARs, match officials, VARs, match week officials, and it's all Premier League. And I have no idea. Whatever, stop. That doesn't lead me anyplace. But the inability to find match day officials before they go into the tournament has always been a trouble spot for me. And so let me check the AVAR just to let me see if I can at least go on that pathway. Okay, so Yasith Monge has been a VAR in Leagues Cup. And okay, so Yasith Monge has been an AVAR in Leagues Cup. And let's see, so Mexico. So if we go there, if I'm looking for anyone in particular, so nothing like trying to find officials and go, okay, so what about A, B, C, D, and E? And so this is, like I said, this is this has been an issue for me this entire process of not knowing the crews, to not being able to do research on these individuals. All right, so Spain, Turkey, UAE, USA, All right, posted Saturday of the 25th of February, 25. So Yasith Monge, I do know, has done Gold Cup in the past, and that I've been finding, but literally I've had to do it in this search. So video match officials, Yasith Monge is Costa Rican by birth and by nationality. So Yasith Monge has been a VAR in the Gold Cup. So he was, Yasith Monge was a VAR in this match. And it really doesn't help me. Anthony Bravo. Is Anthony Bravo in this at all? Support referee? No. Anthony Bravo. Like I said, and this is just literally to look at Leagues Cup to see if there's been anything in here. So nothing in Leagues Cup, but Yasith Monge has a history of VAR in these tournaments. But not being able to find out information on these officials is disappointing, to say the very least. The crew is Jesus Lopez, Christian Espinosa, and Karen Diaz, your ARs. Rion Radix was your fourth. Anthony Bravo and Yasith Monge were your VAR were upstairs. So that's the rundown. And I will put this out to all of you. If you find these officials, tell me. If you can find them ahead of time, let me know where they are. Because like I said, I'm having a devil of a time until they're posted an hour before the match as to who these officials are. There's no like pro, there's no Leagues Cup version of pro or pro posts who's doing what. So, pro will sit there and they'll post during MLS season, but they won't do anything involving postings and MLS assignments. So that's the disappointing aspect in this, is that you want to be able to be educated, but you can't until after the fact. Then you're having to sit there and you're having to work backward, and it's disappointing. So anyway, So Pascal Janssen was not pleased with what happened when 5 of his 8 fouls were called on yellow cards. So you can understand his concern. All right, so that picks us up and puts us down into, I think, match number 3 or match number 4. Where are we here? So it was, where am I? It's like, and then you don't give dates. All right, so match number 4, number 18, Chicago Fire, and number 35, Santos Laguna. This one, once again, was in Bridgeview, and it took a while. Santos Laguna actually had a lead in the 20th minute. But then in the second half, business picked up. Greg Berhalter made some substitutions, and you had Philip Zinkernagel scoring in the 72nd, but then you had Chicago pouring it on late in stoppage time. Here is goal number 2. Goal number 2 of 3, by the way. So you get 2 goals 3 minutes apart. Here's the first one that gave Chicago Fire the lead. This is Callum and Kalen, Leagues Cup and Apple TV.
Koopman scored last week. Plays it forward now. Towards the back post it goes. Nudged down and flashed towards goal and in. Fortune favours the brave. And Chicago Fire have given it all. Persistence pays off. And Anton Saletros with his first goal for the Fire here in Bridgeview, Illinois, has given them the late lead that they were craving.
Santos Laguna and Paiva tried to bend but don't break, but you can see how deep they're sitting and how much time and space they've given right on top, and as they go to the wide.
And so it was Saletros was on play-by-play. You look on the board, it's given to Robin Lod. But either way, that was goal number 2. Lewandowski scores goal number 3. 3-1 your final over Santos Laguna. Big win for the Fire as Team 18. And did I say that Christopher Kupp's still sat on the bench? We're moving on. After that one, it was Nashville. And it was them as Team 16 taking on Atletico San Luis as Team 33. This one was at Geodis. And it was Atletico San Luis with the early lead. Llorente scoring in the 18th. And then you end up with Christian Espinoza with an eventual brace, scoring in the 36th. Sam Surridge in the 38th. Espinoza at 45 plus 7. Then you end up with goal number 4, the one that truly distances Nashville from Atletico San Luis and puts this one to bed. And this is Tony Husband on the call. It's Tony and Ross, Apple TV and Leagues Cup.
Mukhtar for Mohamed. Surridge is poised. It's Baker Whiting. Breakthrough moment for the former Seattle Sounder. A first goal, and he does it in the gold of Nashville.
They've overrun San Luis in the second half. And in large parts, the substitutes that have come on and maintained the level, they've brought the energy, and now you've got to...
And there's Tony and Ross once again, and Nashville gets the Duke over Atletico San Luis by the final of 4-1 at Geodis. It was a busy night for Christian, Miles, and KCD. They were at Q2, and it was Team 24 in Austin taking on Team 36 and Puebla. It was a very, very busy first half for them specifically. And it was a very, very busy first half for one person in particular, wasting no time. If I can find it, here we go. Christian and KCD, Apple TV.
Here in just the 4th minute, it'll be Facu Torres standing over it along with the left foot of Rosales, who was absolutely magnificent on Thursday night. And it will be Uzuni. He hit it, and he hit it so well. Marvelous. Mirto has done it again. And Austin with a super start here in the Texas capital. 1-0.
It's a dream start for Austin FC to come in the first 4 minutes of the game and to push how they're going to play in combination in the attack.
And by the way, Mirto Uzuni was not done 3 minutes later. Once again, Leagues Cup, Apple TV, Christian KCD.
Here's Besart Sabovic, the Swede, now picking out Wolf, who drifts between the lines. It's Ramirez, backheeled in. It is sexy football of the highest order. He's done it again. More magic from Mirto, and Austin absolutely dynamite. 2 goals in 8 minutes. It's the Verde and Black 2, Puebla 0.
This is exactly what coordinated movement does. When one run goes before the pass, and then you have a second runner, a third runner off the ball, it absolutely picks apart defenses. Watch the center backs in white. As Christian Ramirez makes this run behind, the center back...
And it was a great volley by Uzuni, by the way. Cleaned out space. All of the movement in front toward the near post. Cleared out Uzuni at the back. Volley in, and that was 2. By the way, Mirto scored a 3rd.
Faces this year after his move over from Palmeiras. Whipped all the way across, and he overhit it, sits on the volley. Oh, it's spectacular! The hat trick hero, magical Mirto Uzuni. It's Austin 3, Puebla 0, lights out in Texas.
Mirto Uzuni has come to play tonight, and he's absolutely putting on a show. Everyone in this area runs to the near post space, and he is...
And that was the one where Uzuni was wide open at the back. So this is what they were looking for, meaning the front office. And Jim Curtin was probably up in the 200 level with his notebook taking notes. This is what you were looking for from Mirto Uzuni. The hat trick in Leagues Cup gets you a big win. Nice goal difference addition there. So 3-0 the win, as the second half was almost ceremonial at points. 3-0 win for Austin FC. And so after the match, you catch up with interim head coach Davey Arnaud about his thoughts on the big shutout, the clean sheet at Q2, courtesy of Austin FC, their own selves.
Baron Tiveros from USYNT TV. Davey, congrats on the win tonight. Uzuni looked like a different player tonight and came away with the hat trick. How much did the different setup up front with Ramirez starting allow him to play more freedom and be more dangerous?
I mean, it was the same. I mean, the same position Mirto's been playing. Obviously, we changed. Facu played out wide, and Christian played as the 9. Yeah, I thought the way Mirto played tonight was obviously very good. The goals are great, but I thought the way that he played in that position was good, and his relationship with Christian was good. His relationship with Brandon has been good also. There's a great assist by Christian on the goal, right? From what I remember, I think it was Christian at backheel, right? I haven't seen it, but yeah, I thought their relationship was good tonight, and I thought using Facu out wide tonight actually worked. It worked really well, especially in the first half.
Great. What did you see in the first half that led to the decision to take Owen Wolf off at halftime, and what were you looking to change tactically in the second half?
Owen, Owen got hit early in the first half, so he was struggling. So it was not I wish we could have left him in the entire game. That would have been preferable. But no, he had a knock, so he had to come out at halftime. So that was a forced change because. I think you see Owen. He played a little higher today. He plays one of the attacking midfielders, and you see what he provides. He's just so smart with his movement, his ability to receive balls between lines, and it's just he's important for us. And I thought when he came out of the game, it hurts us a little bit. But Ilie comes in, does a really good job. Irvin moves up, and I thought all those guys in the middle of the field did a good job tonight.
Interim head coach Davey Arnault from Austin FC. Austin gets the win and shuts out the opponent that made their way to Q2. So big win for them against Puebla, Team 24 over Team 36. Also late night at the Murph Dragon, San Diego FC and Tijuana, Team 8 versus Team 27. Initially, the Murph Dragon, San Diego had a goal on the board, but it was pulled off. Then in the 22nd, after literally it was 3 minutes in, you had Pirani scored, then that got pulled off the board. Then a goal in the 22nd actually stuck. Here's the highlights for this one, and I believe this is Keith and Mo. I think this is Keith Costigan and Mo Adu. Leagues Cup on Apple TV.
Another good step out of midfield. Really good raid by Alvarado. Dreyer, Alvarado continuing his run, and Zamblay scores! And this one will count! Zamblay will take the plaudits, but that was all about the press and determination of Alvarado in midfield to win that ball back. San Diego have the opening goal.
And Tijuana have no one to blame but themselves, but this is just good structural shape against the ball from San Diego. We saw just a couple minutes ago that press out of midfield and how it led to a chance. This time it's Alvarado who steps out of midfield. Timing is spot on. Now they have a two-man game in terms of numbers in the box. Good awareness from Alvarado. Continue your run. Anders Dreyer does so well to get this ball into a dangerous area, but look at the commitment. We saw the commitment from Alvarado to win.
Mo goes on to explain that was the goal that stuck. 22nd minute goal for San Diego FC, and the Chrome y Azul get the win. Here's Mikey Veras after the match, courtesy of San Diego FC.
Okay, I'll start you off, Mikey. Mikey, you got a 1-0 win tonight against Cholos. We talked about it earlier in the week as the first official competition for the clubs, but just how differently did you live this game in an official competition? And then if you can tell us, your thoughts on the match and what are the feelings for the win?
Yeah, listen, Cholos is a great club and doing really well. Really strong team with really good players. And so it's an important win for us at home, for our fans. Obviously, it's a regional rivalry. So, yeah, we take that. And it's an important one. I think it's a little bit, the first half, they sat on us pretty deep. We score early. I don't understand the reversal of the call. I think the goal should stand. And happy, though, we find another goal to make sure that we break that low block. Second half, they come a bit more aggressive. And I think for the first 15 minutes, we deal with it pretty decent. And then from 60 minutes on, we pretty much suffered. I think they got a hold of the game. And we need to do better at managing those moments to just close that game a little bit stronger. But it's all learning lessons, and we'll get better from it.
Thank you. We'll go to questions in the room.
Your thoughts on your goalkeeper's game?
I thought CJ had some good interventions, and I would say it was average to above average game. I still think that we're looking for somebody to really show that they can win us games, and they can make us more complete in our build-up. Because sometimes we're suffering against man marking and if we could just recognize the 2v1s a little better or have a little bit better detail of our longer passes from our goalkeeper, we would be in a lot better situations.
Team 8 over Team 27, San Diego FC over Cholos, 1-0 your final. Then the last match was up in Portland, and it was the swan song for the interim before Marty Cifuentes comes in to take over in Portland. Club America Team 3, Portland Team 26. Kanji and Danny on the call, and it started out by being all Club America, 6th minute. Very, very special set piece to get the early lead on the road, and it was really into a tight space. Here's the call once again, Leagues Cup and Apple TV.
Is he the coach? Is this the team to lead the Mexican breakthrough in Leagues Cup? We'll get a partial answer here tonight. See how Club America plays the set piece. It's all Rodriguez, gives it a go, and a lightning bolt beats Trey Muse. Club America off and running at Providence Park. He's one full game and several minutes of another into this tournament, and he's putting his stamp all over it. What a strike. Rodriguez for the 1-0 lead.
1 goal and 2 assists in the opening game. This is just magical. Muse stands absolutely no chance.
Danny Higginbotham is not wrong. Very special set piece to get the goal. And so that's your goals. That's your match day number 2, put to bed. So your standings after match day 2 in phase 1. And remember, it's the top 4 that work their way through. You've got teams that have already been eliminated after match day 2. In the 8 that remain in Liga MX, America, Juarez, Cruz Azul, and León each have 6 points. Tigres has 4. Toluca, Monterrey, and Atlante have 3. Chivas, Pachuca, Tijuana, Atlas, Santos, Laguna, Necaxa, Atlético San Luis, Pumas, Querétaro, and Puebla have been eliminated. So 8 remain on the Liga MX side as they chase after 4. On the MLS side, only 2 of the 18 teams have been eliminated, Minnesota and Vancouver. Everybody else has, 6 points. Austin, Charlotte, Chicago, Cincy, Columbus, Dallas. LAFC has 5. RSL has 4. Nashville, Portland, Miami, Philadelphia, NYCFC, Seattle, Orlando, and San Diego each have 3. So 16 teams chasing after 4 spots heading into match day number 3 in Leagues Cup. And that's kind of what you were wanting in this competition. Probably going to come down to goals scored, if not goal difference. And so right now, Austin and Charlotte, 2 wins and +5 in goal difference. So keep an eye on that. It's the top 4 that advance and on each side. And so 8 chasing 4 for Liga MX and 16 chasing 4 for Major League Soccer. Goal differential is number 1, greater number of wins in match regular time, greater number of goals scored by the club, fewer number of goals conceded, fewer points in the team's fair play table, and a draw by the organizing committee. So that's that is your tiebreakers, all 6 of them. I don't think we're going to get to that point, but nevertheless, it is legitimately the top 4 on each side making their way into the quarters, and that is Leagues Cup as we head into match day number 3. Quick note about what we were discussing earlier this morning. U.S. Soccer has come out with a statement within the hour. It actually came out at like 10 o'clock this morning. U.S. Soccer, Canada Soccer, the Caribbean Football Union, and the Central American Football Union, and this is the direct quote, stand together along with our colleagues around the world in calling for meaningful change that strengthens FIFA's governance, transparency, and accountability. That is it. That is all that was said by U.S. Soccer, Canada Soccer, the CFU, and UNCAF. So that's the latest from that. Now, let's get you into gossip, rumor, and innuendo before we get you into the twos and get you ready for the rest of your day. So gossip, rumor, and innuendo, plus signings and things that we know. And like I said, keep an eye on everything going on in Colombia. Roldanillo and Cali looked like they have been hit pretty hard. Preliminary numbers are north of a 7 earthquake, and so keep an eye on that and send all of your love to everyone down that way. So transfer rumors trending. United targeting 2 young players from Club Brugge left back Joaquin Seys, Leicester City wonder kid Lewis Page. Seys is 21. Arsenal, Villa, Newcastle, Benfica, and Porto. But the 3-letter paper claims United are at the front of the queue as they look to add depth to their defense. Also actively working on a deal to sign the 18-year-old midfielder Page from Leicester. Talks over fee for the transfer underway. Working his way into the senior setup. Arsenal and Villa also interested. 5 starts for Leicester City last year. Liverpool could let forward Cody Gakpo go if they sign Barcola or Mbaye from PSG, according to Football Insider. Gakpo is unhappy at the sacking of Arne Slot, ready to move on from Anfield if a deal of around £70 million can be agreed. Spurs have shown the most interest. Liverpool already short in wide areas after the departure of Mo Salah, so they need to sign some new additions first. PSG confident sealing a deal for Mika Götze from Ajax, according to Nicola Schira. Personal terms claimed to be agreed for the forward, agreed to a contract until 2031. Ajax wants a fee of €55 million to sign the 21-year-old, 18 and 18 in all comps last year. Newcastle showing interest in João Palhinha as a potential midfield addition before the summer window closes. 4-letter paper reports Bayern's star has become an option following the exits of Tonali and Guimaraes. Palhinha free to leave Bayern this summer after failing to secure a permanent switch to Spurs at the end of his loan spell there last season. Newcastle have shortlisted him. Villa are also interested. Galatasaray have the €50 million price tag set by AC Milan for the transfer of Rafa Leao too high, according to Nicola Schira. Turkish Super League team have been in talks with Milan about a deal after the Portugal international admitted he'd like a new challenge. Talks appear to have been shelved in a disagreement over the final fee, but a return to the negotiation table has not been ruled out for later in the window. Luca Digne completed his transfer to PSG from Villa, 3-year deal. Second stint in Paris following his 2-year spell at the Parc des Princes between 13 and 15. Como confirmed the signing of Trevor Chalobah yesterday from Chelsea, $25 million plus £5 million in add-ons. So it's basically $40.3 million. Once again, we mentioned the straight swap deal with McNeil and Brennan Johnson. Scotland U21 striker Robbie Ure set to join Sevilla from IK Sirius for €9 million in a contract through 231. And he scored 15 league goals so far, 9 points clear at the top of the table. Harry Kane set to extend his contract with Bayern until 29, according to the Times. Arsenal ready to hijack Liverpool's move on Bradley Barcola. That's from Gimme Sport. Roma submitted an offer to sign 19-year-old Porto playmaker Rodrigo Mora worth €25 million, holding out for a higher fee. Talks with Galatasaray underway. That's from Fabrizio Romano. Marcus Rashford staying at United this summer unless a proposal from a top Europe club arrives in the final weeks of the window. That's from Fabrizio Romano. Fabrice Hawkins. Lyon have reached an agreement with AC Milan over a deal to sign right back Zachary Athkame, and it's set to be a loan without an option to sign permanently. Team talk, Everton and Fulham interested in the move for Barcelona right back Hector Fort. 20-year-old's been told he's free to leave the club. We mentioned Ferran Torres this morning. Barcelona look like they're going to hijack, or try to anyway, Atletico de Madrid's move for Christian Romero after the Spurs defender was in talks to join the Rojiblancos. That's from Team Talk. Spurs also in prime position to sign Savinho for Manchester City, despite relative delays in getting a transfer deal over the line. Also, Football Insider has Nick Pope, unlikely to push for an exit from Newcastle, despite the club recently signing 2 new options. Gazzetta, Inter Milan remain interested in signing versatile midfielder Curtis Jones this summer, but any deal will only come after a major exit to raise funds. Alexander Stankovic claimed to be the prime option to leave the Nerazzurri, and Football Insider. Leicester City have received an £8 million offer from Sheffield United to sign Australia's centre back Harry Suter. We mentioned the finalizing of the signing of Xavier Gozo. This comes from Tom Bogert. Sources briefed on the situation, granted anonymity to protect relationships. Said Gozo's in London on Monday to undergo a medical with Palace and to complete the paperwork for the move. Deal of around $15 million, allowing him to travel to the UK, new club record for RSL. Gozo will join up with his new teammates for preseason this week, 6 + 5 in 16 matches this season, playing as a wingback after initially playing through as a winger. 50 first-team appearances for RSL in total. They've developed a number of first-team regulars, no stranger to big outbound deals. Andres Gomez to Rennes for $11 million in 24. Gozo becomes the new standard at 15. And Palace named Pierre Sage as their new head coach this summer after Oliver Glasner leaves. Following a finals win over Rayo Vallecano in UEFA Conference, Glasner moves to Nottingham Forest. Chris Richards, remaining a key player for Palace, who begin their Premier League season in 12 days against Everton. Swansea rejected a whole bid for the top scorer in the Championship. Last season, Zan Vipotnik, 23 goals as Swansea finished mid-table, 9 points off 6th, and Hull got promoted. Slovenian international joined Swansea from Bordeaux. 7 goals in the second tier in his maiden season, significantly more prolific, agreed to a new Swansea contract until 2030 back in March. And head coach Vitor Matos has insisted he can keep all 3 forwards happy. Told reporters last week the signing of Ross Stewart, departing Southampton, and having Republic of Ireland striker Adam Ida, not related to a future on Vipotnik. He thinks he can keep all 3 of them happy at the same time. We will see. We also mentioned Crystal Palace. Process of finalizing, and this is from Ornstein and Stafford Bloor at The Athletic. A deal to sign Anand Kalaili from Royal Union Saint-Gilloise completed a medical on Sunday, trying to complete an agreement with RUSG for a fee of around £21 million. Personal terms in place on a 5-year deal through 31 with an option of a further 12 months. Wrexham closing in on the signing of Anthony Patterson from Sunderland, club record transfer, second half of last season on loan at Millwall, permission to speak to them following talks that had begun earlier in the summer. Product of the academy. First choice keeper in the second half of 21-22, played a key role in Sunderland's promotion in 25, and under Robin Roofs, Patterson is now the number 2. Patterson is set to be the 3rd signing of the summer after Crystal Palace on Danny Imre and Ben Whiteman from Preston North End. Sources in the Northeast suggest the deal worth £8 million, eclipsing the record of $7.5 paid for Nathan Broadhead a year ago. We mentioned Aston Villa in talks to appoint Burnley's Paul Fjelde as their new set-piece coach, and that should take care of everything from overseas. Let's check with our buddy Ben Jacobs and see if we've missed anything. We'll catch up with everyone else here in just a second. There's that one. We mentioned Højbjerg turned down Newcastle following advanced talks, as called by Fabrizio Romano, and that's with Alex Crook. Helping out there. We mentioned Ferran Torres. Villa interested in a loan for Endrick, as reported on TalkSport over the weekend. Roma, among several other clubs showing an interest. Endrick and Real both currently inclined to consider a temporary exit. West Ham have inquired on the availability of Jamie Vardy. Lots of interest, plans to take his time before determining his next move. Mentioned Villa and Joao Palhinha. And let's see. I think we're caught up internationally. I believe we are. So I think we're caught up on all the international moves. So let's see if there's anything domestic that we might have missed. And the answer is no, I don't believe so. Red Bulls, and this is up from over the weekend, Red Bulls rejected a bid from a Danish club on a loan with an option to buy for Roald Mitchell, and has not had a whole lot of opportunities with the first team, but they're rejecting offers right now for Mitchell, meaning the Red Bulls front office. So there is that. Quick note, last night, Christoph Velde post-match, when asked on the atmosphere for Leagues Cup in the loss by Timbers, when he was asked about it, how was the atmosphere? Ish. Tons of yellow in our home, in our own home. I've never seen this in my life. I don't understand how it's possible. And he literally said ish 4 times in a row, but that wasn't the word that he used. So you keep an eye on. Yikes! Woof. Yeah, not that kind of an environment that you're hunting for. Okay, before we get out of here, real quick, the Twos had a tough loss in Chattanooga, and it was 1-0. To Chattanooga FC as they continue their spot in the top 2 of the Eastern Conference. And did I not load it? Of course I didn't load it. That's great. Yeah. So let's see. So upload. Did I just not upload the thing? Might have to play it tomorrow. Okay. Where is it? I thought that, oh, here it is. There. No, that's not it. No, that's not it. Where is it? What did I call it? That might have been the problem, is trying to call it something and then not being able to call it in its entirety. So here, I'm going to do this and take this out. So let's do that. And this will be the last thing that we run this morning. I think we pretty much got a good handle on a lot of stuff. We'll let you know once again what's happening tomorrow. Ali Howarth is going to talk WAFCON and that will be early. And then we'll talk to Tony Economopoulos about what's going on at Mercer. We'll see if KCD is around at 10 o'clock. We'll also have part 2 of our interview with Santiago Lopez from Fadelito and what it's like to build a business, a family business, and keep that going. At the same time, you're trying to keep your legacy intact with what you've been building at El Fadelito. So that conversation is tomorrow as well. So Tuesday stacked show. Here's the wrap from Finley Stadium. It is Jason, it is Maddie, it is Sophia, and then a conversation with Two's head coach Jose Silva.
Quick dispatch here from Finley Stadium after Atlanta United 2 lost 1-0 to Chattanooga FC. Giving you this for SDH AM. I'm Jason Longshore, Madison Cruz here, Sophia Cupertino here, and it's a frustrating one because Atlanta did a lot of things really well, but they make a mistake defensively, it looks like, with Enzo Dovolo keeping Alex Krell onside, and then they weren't clinical enough in the attacking third, and they end up losing 1-0 in a game where they doubled Chattanooga's shots and doubled the possession, but couldn't find a breakthrough.
Yeah, it's one that's frustrating, I think, from that angle of it, because, again, it comes from a mistake that you make in the 7th, and then a team, and the way that Chattanooga plays, they're a team that their pure identity is, they're going to just try to get on the counter, try to find something, and then once they do, they're going to bunker, and they're going to waste time, and they're going to do whatever they can to shield you away from it and just, hold on to the lead. They play like a team that is an underdog. They play like a team that is trying to hold on when they're on the road in a semi-final match where they're trying to hold on for dear life, which is wild in front of a home crowd like this in Chattanooga. And listen, it's one where I'm not saying this in the defense of, Atlanta lost, this is not good. I'm saying in the defense of Atlanta was the better team. Yeah. Atlanta had the better opportunities. They just could not make the most of it. Chattanooga were able to make the most of their opportunity, and then they just kind of sat back and said, hey, all right, cool.
Yeah, Chattanooga is a better team on the scoreboard. They get the early goal, and I thought they were going to get punished because they really didn't show much initiative after that. And I think if they're going to be a team that wins MLS NEXT Pro, which they're fully capable of, I think you got to find more than what we saw tonight. But they get the win.
Yeah, it's one of those things, especially in matches like this, in MLS NEXT Pro, the way we've seen these teams and the way that this league is shaped out. Normally, and most of the time, when you have a team that is able to go up as early as Chattanooga did, if they play like that, they're going to get punished, not by maybe just one goal, by a couple of goals, because you tend to sit back and you tend to lose focus, and you tend to try to, hold on, and you lose that concentration because you have the onslaught that was happening. And there was a couple of moments, I think, that maybe weren't called correctly. That should have been, especially some of the tackles that we saw. But that's what Chattanooga does. They're going to come in. They're going to try to get under your skin. They're going to delay. They're going to time waste. They are going to do everything they can to slow things down. And that's who they are. That's what it is. But that's not going to win you championships, especially in this league when things come down to the wire of it. It's not going to win you championships.
I think it's a much riskier way to try to win championships because you're leaving too much to chance. I mean, you guys know by now how I feel about the game, and I always want the ball and want to try to make things happen for my team because I feel like then I'm in control. If I sit back and defend, and I hope that Atlanta has the night that they did where they weren't good enough in the attacking third, I'm hoping the other team doesn't get it done as opposed to going and just winning the game.
It's why Chattanooga, when you look at their record, you look at their away record, and they're one of the worst top teams in MLS, right? MLS NEXT Pro, because of it. And that's what happens when you play style like that, when you're on the road. It doesn't normally get you the results you want, especially in a playoff situation, especially if you're looking at a Chattanooga right now. They're sitting in second. Obviously, they'll host for one game, but as you continue on.
Right now, they'd have to go to Crown Legacy in a championship if it goes to chalk, and they'd have to show that they can go and beat them, not go and hold on against them. The playlist here at Finley Stadium is trying to give us all the flashbacks. We've had all the World Cup songs, and now we're getting Club World Cup songs. Sophia, you were on the field, and we talked about it a lot during the game. It's a feisty rivalry between these two teams. What was it like on the field? Was it as feisty as we thought it was on the call?
It definitely was, but it was feisty on one side rather than the other. I felt like it was a lot of Chattanooga's back line kind of quipping after any sort of play to the Atlanta players, and they almost just kind of took it in stride and just kept playing.
They've got a style of play, and it works for them to a point. And I think Atlanta handled those elements of the game really well. It didn't seem like they got frustrated. It didn't seem like they got upset. You didn't see anybody lashing out, but you got to find a way to break a team down when they sit back and defend like that. And we've seen it before, and that's going to be the next step for this Atlanta United 2 team. John Nelson caught up with Jose Silva after the game, and here is their conversation.
All right. Obviously, you look at the result out there. What was missing out there tonight?
Well, it was missing more quality in the final third. I think we are right to good areas, but we couldn't, that final pass, that final cross, that final shot, we didn't have it today. We have only one clear chance. It was difficult to break their block, but we lacked that little more quality in that final third.
And at the same time, I was looking at the numbers. I think Arif only had 10 touches the entire time. You look at their back line and their midfield, he was bracketed. There's 3 dudes around him the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that he needs to grow in his play, because the league is starting to know him. They know how they play, so they are going to try to avoid that he's in a 1v1 situation against the center in a cross or in a through pass. So they did good. Chattanooga did really good with the block that they present, with a middle block, and really organized when they draw to do the low block. And it was difficult for us to find Arif, or even in the second half we tried to put Pato with second striker, and we find more Pato than Arif.
So then what are the lessons, I guess, from tonight that you can take home, because you got 3 in a row at home, that you've really got to take care of business?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough moment of the season, no? Every point count. 7 games more to go. We have 3 at home, so we have advantage over there. So we need to start to wake up. We need to keep the rhythm that we have during the first 20 games, because we want to be in playoff, and we need to beat teams like Chattanooga or teams like New York Red Bull, and they're our direct opponent. We want to be in playoff.
How do you look at the standings but not scoreboard watch, if that makes any sense, considering there's 5 teams right now separated by 3 points at that 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10? How do you look at it but not focus on it and have them not look at it?
Yeah, I mean, it's like last year. I think I always go back to the past now, and I feel that last year we were in a worse spot, because with 8 games left, we were second the bottom, and we didn't do play for 1 point in the same place here. And this year we're in a better spot. We are over there in playoffs. We are with the group that is in the high probability to the playoffs. Now we have to, again, pick points against direct opponents like Chattanooga, New York Red Bull, Orlando, because that point counts 6. We move 3, but they lost 3, so it's really important that we start to pick up with these games.
Jose Silva after the match, the 1-0 loss to Chattanooga FC. And so right now in MLS NEXT Pro, the standings are jammed together. No question about that. Eastern Conference, just so you know it, and how cramped it is. Crown Legacy's at 46, match in hand on Chattanooga FC, who's at 43. Revs are at 42. Crew 2 at 39. Red Bulls at 35. Orlando City B at 35. 2 less wins, match in hand on Red Bull. Atlanta United 2 is in 7th at 34 points. Same number of wins as Connecticut United, but a far superior goal difference. Chicago Fire is 9 right now at 33 points. So what we were discussing, 5 teams, 2 points, 5 through 9 in the Eastern Conference. And this is right now with a handful of matches to go. NYCFC 2 is 10th at 30. 3 matches in hand on Philadelphia Union 2 and a superior goal difference. Huntsville City is 12th at 28. Coors at 26. TFC 2 at 25. FC Cincinnati 2 at 16 points in 15th place in 21 matches, and Inter Miami CF2 115, 4-1, 49 goals surrendered on the season, and 8 points in the East. In the West, it's going to be back and forth with the 3 teams that are there. Austin FC 2 at 49 points, 1 more win, and on Houston Dynamo 2, Dynamo Dos has a match in hand, and they have 1 more win than Timbers 2. Then there's a bit of space. Ventura County is at 38 points in 4th. St. Louis City 2 is at 35 points. And they have 1 less win on LAFC 2. I mean, they have the same number of wins as LAFC 2. LAFC 2 has a match in hand. St. Louis City 2 has the tiebreaker. So they're in 5th. LAFC 2 is in 6th. Tacoma Defiance is in 7th. Earthquakes 2 are in 8th. Loons 2 at 30 points, 1 point back in 9th. North Texas at 29 points in 10th. Real Monarchs at 26 points. Sporting Kansas City 2 and Whitecaps 2 Sporting Kansas City 2 has one more win at 19 points, 12th and 13th. Rapids 2, 2-14, 6-1, 22 matches, 13 points, and that's MLS Next Pro. Friday afternoon at 4 is the next match for Atlanta United 2 at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Training Ground. Remember that it is free, but you have to adhere to, you got to go on to Ticketmaster and get your tickets. It's free to get in, but you have to adhere to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium bylaws when it comes to clear bags, bag size, those kinds of things. So 4 o'clock, so 3:30 pregame here on Friday afternoon on the network as we get you ready for Atlanta United 2 and Red Bulls 2 to start your weekend in MLS Next Pro. There is a game tomorrow morning at Icon Stadium, NYCFC 2 in Orlando City B, and Huntsville City Football Club Wednesday night hosting Crown Legacy in a big matchup in the Eastern Conference. What to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it, by our friends at Fanati's, fntz.co/soccer down here. That link is important. Helps them out, helps us out, helps you out when it comes to all your streaming. You get TVV out of Venezuela. You get CDO Plus out of Chile, Liga 1 Max Pro out of Peru. You get TIC out of Argentina, which means you get Copa Argentina. You get Libertadores, Sudamericana, links to Tigo Sports, links to CATV, a lot of the A and B divisions in South and Central America. You also get everything on the BNs. And BN, Middle East and North Africa, you get AFCON, you get WAFCON, you get AFC, you get Champions League, all the qualifiers, you get that. You also end up with the French League, the Polish League, the Turkish League, and the Portuguese League. They added that this year, and that popped up this weekend. So you get all of that on Fanatis with all the BNs at fntz.co/soccer down here. Pretty light day today. It is Colombia Primera. I don't know at the moment if this is going to stand, considering the current situation after the 7.4 earthquake in western Colombia this morning. Rio Negro Águilas and Llaneros is supposed to be at 5 o'clock in the Primera. Keep an eye on that. MLS Next Pro, Fire 2, Toronto FC 2, 3 o'clock at Bridgeview, OneFootball, MLSNextPro.com, and the MLS YouTube channel. Paramount Plus, League Cup, 3 o'clock, Plymouth Argyle, Exeter City. VEEX has Argentina, Liga Profesional de Football, so the Primera out of Argentina at 6 and 8. Bonfield and Belgrano at 6. Union Santa Fe, Central Cordoba is at 8:15. Liga MX Femenil, Monday Night Football, Toluca and Juarez is at 8 o'clock. And so that is the rundown of everything in MLS and Next Pro and what to watch today. If you have not subscribed, subscribe to Morning Espresso. You can do that. You go to soccerdownhere.net and you get everything, all the other news that I may have forgotten that Jason brings to the table every single morning. It goes over what happened in a crazy day in NWSL, and he also lays it all out for you with, come on now, where is it? No, that's not the case. That is not all the email. Oh, you're on page 2. That's why. Okay. So just to give you an idea what you're missing, go to soccerdownhere.net. There's a box where you can put your email address in. You subscribe to Morning Espresso, and you get all the stuff that I might have not had the chance to take a peek at. But at the same time, you get the opportunity to fill in all the other news. And so Cameroon and Nigeria, we'll talk about that tomorrow in WAFCON with Ali Harf. We'll talk about Malawi and their run. We'll talk about attendance figures. And there's an article up that Jason wrote about the blueprint for women's soccer here in Atlanta, in and around the Atlanta beat. So you can get that particular move and that column that was written by Jason, that story written by Jason over at soccerdownhere.net. Sergio Roberto joins the LA Galaxy. You have Monterrey beating Messi. NWSL results. Pietra Torden got a hat trick. Portland beats Boston 4-3. North Carolina beat Washington 4-3 on a 95th minute. Natalie Jacobs go. Debinha got her a goal in Kansas City in a 1-1 draw with Houston. She's now the league's all-time leading scorer. UPSL is putting more than 900 clubs onto Kitman Labs athlete management system. They get a verified competition record across clubs and seasons. And it came this weekend at the national finals at UCLA, Deportivo Rose City over Miami United. So Deportivo Rose City ends up with the win and the national championship here that is attached. And if you also want the full story on Mauricio Amado, you can also get that at soccerdownhere.net. and get the background that is attached to there. South Africa has approached Pitso Mosimane to return for another stint, replacing Hugo Bros. And Max Arfsten and Sebastian Berhalter got a debut. Max Arfsten started for Middlesbrough in the League Cup win over Wrexham, and I think that catches us up. So that is, that's a full day. A lot of stuff to go on. Once again, tomorrow it is going to be getting you prepared for Leagues Cup. Ollie Howarth on WAFCON. Tony Economopoulos about Mercer Soccer as they get ready for their season. We'll see if KCD is available. We'll see if she is in one place for 20 minutes. And then also Santi Lopez from El Farolito will have that for you tomorrow. So that is the stacked show that is up and running tomorrow here at SDH AM at 9:05 Eastern Time. And video and audio archived after. So thanks to Abe for hanging out. Thanks to all y'all for hanging out. Back at it again tomorrow morning, 9:05 Eastern Time, so a little less than 22 hours. Since it's the end of the show, means I get to do this. Mucha Platiel, play it safe. We will catch up with you again tomorrow morning here on SDH AM.